Y'all, Naturegirl 30 here, and I know that I was supposed to have this video out on Friday, but things got a little bit behind. But honestly guys, I got the data, everything is crunched, and honestly I really do find this to be completely interesting. Now I decided to do this because I know the WWE actually does their own power rankings every week, but for me I have decided to do it for every month, especially after a major pay-per-view, whether it's a Big Four or one of the other pay-per-views. And I actually decided to take the wins from those pay-per-views and add it onto this list. So here is my actual score system, or my point system, for my personal data rankings. And I don't really know what they actually do use for their personal data rankings, but I decided to make it as simple as possible. For promo work, it's 1 through 5. For crowd reaction, it's 1 through 5. For wins, it's 1 through 5. And for matches itself, is 1 through 10. I have just decided to actually make it as simple as possible. Well, I guess I said that twice. But after crunching all the data for the month of April, only for Raw and Raw only, and also taking the wins from WrestleMania and putting on into this, I got some interesting data out of this. So guys, without further ado, here is my power rankings for the month of April. Is the League of Nations at 29 points. Now, the League of Nations, let's be honest, they're practically no more. They're on their way out. It is a given that we're probably not going to see these guys again, especially after we saw all three of them doing their own separate intros on this past Raw. And honestly, guys, let's be honest, the crowd reaction is low with them, and they've only had maybe one win under their belt. One win that actually counted, and that was after WrestleMania. And other than that, they have lost pretty much most of the matches they've been in. Their promo work has been lackluster at best, and that's just my humble opinion. It's just the same old shtick over again. And also the matches have been okay, but it hasn't been completely stellar. But that is what put them so low on this list, mainly for their promo work. That's why they're actually so low according to the data that I have collected. But Sasha Banks with 37 points. Honestly in I know people expected her to be higher on the list, but let's be honest, we really haven't seen much of her lately. She's had been in some great matches, especially she was in the 8 Divas tag, I think this past Raw, which was a really great match. The crowd reaction, of course, is always amazing, but she's not talking enough. Her talking skills is getting better, but she doesn't talk enough. Hence why she is so low on this list. And it's mostly because of her promo work. She doesn't do enough of it. But that Baron Corbin with 40 points. Now the one thing that's hurting Baron Corbin for this list is not only his promo work because he doesn't do much of it, it's also the crowd reaction. It's kind of a mixed bag to either negative reaction or a mixed bag with Baron Corbin. It's fairly low, but his promo work is even lower because he doesn't talk that often. But his matches have been pretty good, as well as some of his wins, and he's had some decent wins under his belt. But it's just the lack of promo work that happens to be the lowest, and that's why he is actually at this number. Now, Sami Zayn has had a pretty decent push, especially his introduction in the Royal Rumble. And seeing how his feud with Kevin Owens is starting to really heat up, I'm not really surprised he was on a screen a lot. But the one thing that's hurting him, just like Baron Corbin, is the promo work. He's not doing a lot of talking, which is causing this to actually be a low number for him. He's had a few wins, but it just is not enough without that extra oomph to get him up on this list. And of course, the one thing that was hurting him the most is the promo work. He didn't do a lot this month. But I actually am seeing that if he does come out with a win at Payback, or if they decide to extend the feud on down to SummerSlam, we're probably going to hear him talk a little bit more. Apollo Crews and Dean Ambrose. Now, I know a lot of people are like, what? Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Here's the thing. Dean Ambrose has had his own segments. He's had the Ambrose Asylum. He's had lots of speaking time, especially with Chris Jericho, and it went longer than a minute. Now, when it comes to Apollo Crews, every promo that he has had was brief. It was less than a minute. I always consider a promo to be a little bit more than a minute, but his was a few seconds before interruption or maybe just a brief conversation. I don't consider that to be a promo, hence why I didn't score him as one. But I did score the wins as well as the crowd reaction and as well as his overall matches that he's been in, as well as Dean Ambrose. And that is why it came up to be the same number. It came up to be 45. I did not put anything promo-like for Apollo Crews because we really have not seen him speak that much. It's always been short and sweet and to the point and move on. While Dean Ambrose has had segments that have gone on longer than a minute. The reason why is the crowd reaction. She's been doing a lot of great work being a heel, but this is how I score the crowd reaction. 5 being an overwhelming response, 4 being an okay response, 3 being a mixed bag, 2 being a negative reaction, possibly boos, 1 being minimal, and 0 to like dead quiet to where you can literally hear crickets. And that is why the Vaudevillains is not on this list, unfortunately. Between the New Day and the Dudley Boys. Now, we all know how the promo work for the promo work for the New Day has been pretty much stellar. Their promo work has been stellar. Their matches have been good. Their reactions been great, and their wins has been okay. They practically had the same amount of numbers as the Dudley Boys, hence why they came out as a tie. Chris Jericho, The Miz, and Enzo and Cass. And it's a given why these guys are so high on the list. Number one, these guys are excellent on the mic. We know that Chris Jericho can literally, not only is he very intelligent on the mic, he will literally just change verbal words with you and just crumble you, like make you break down. The Miz is great as a heel. I enjoy him on the mic. He is very entertaining. Enzo and Cass, we know that Enzo Amore has the gift of gab. Even though half the stuff he says makes no sense, he is really entertaining and great to watch. And it is so high. The scores are really high for their promo work. Their crowd reaction, of course, for Chris Jericho and The Miz is going to be a little lower than Enzo and Cass because Enzo and Cass are baby faces. But their wins have been pretty good, especially with Enzo Amore and Big Cass winning the tag team tournaments. Well, the actual semifinals of tag team tournaments before the actual final for this tournament is going to be at Payback. So they actually had a great win for them starting off on Raw. Now, their matches have been great, especially the match that they had with the Dudley Boys. Hence, I kind of wish that they didn't really do that. But other than that, they have really great matches, and they kind of put them all on the same score. And I find that amazing. They all have the same score of 49. They inched out 1 point ahead of the Dudleys. 1 point ahead of the Dudleys and 1 point ahead of the New Day. I thought that was pretty cool. I think that's a really, really great sum right there. I thought that was amazing. Is the Usos. The Usos been in a lot of matches. They've been in a lot of tag team matches this month. And they've actually all been pretty good, especially the matches that debuted Anderson and Gallows. And honestly, I had no complaints with it. The only thing that really was messed up was their promo work. They literally scored a 1. They were one of the first, well, the second to score a 1 in promos. Like, no lie. Like, nearly minimal reaction. And you guys know what segment I'm talking about. But other than that, it didn't even hit a dent. It didn't even make a dent into the overall score. But guys, honestly, it's not really that surprising for them to be this high. They've been on the screen a lot. They've been in a lot of matches. They've been in some matches that had some debuts, important ones, especially Anderson and Gallows, where Anderson and Gallows is the important one. And their overall score kind of shows that. Roman Reigns. How can I forget about you? You're always on my screen every single night. You're practically booked to win every match you're in. And yeah, you've had not so stellar promos. But I will admit, Roman Reigns is becoming, I'm not gonna lie, he is impressing me with his heelish skills. The only problem is the WWE cannot make up their mind whether or not they want him to stay a babyface and maybe hope that the fans will grow to love him or make him a heel. And honestly, his promo work has been improving throughout the last few weeks in April. And honestly, whether you like it or not, this guy has had a lot of wins under his belt. And the wins is pretty much what puts him so high on this list. I mean, next to the matches themselves, and he has been in some stellar matches. Well, he's been in some decent matches. The wins is what I'm way over. And he actually has a decent amount of wins. So you can't necessarily hate on Roman completely. Well, I guess I can understand why, but according to the data that I collected, he is actually on this list for a reason. Number 5 is Natalya. She has had an overwhelmingly positive response with her feud against Charlotte. Excuse me, which shows how great Charlotte is as a heel and shows how well she's performing as a heel and actually making Natalya look good if you honestly think about it. But even though her promos were few and far in between, her matches were amazing. Her matches were absolutely stellar, as well as the crowd response was stellar. And she's had some decent wins coming out of this feud. So hence why she's at number 5. Just because you're the Divas Champion, okay, my bad, oops. Just because you're the Women's Champion does not mean you are automatically at the top bar. Well, of course, in the business, yes, but on this list, no. Now, moving on to number 4. At number 4 is Kevin Owens. What can I say about Kevin Owens that has not been said? The guy is in a red-hot feud with Sami Zayn. A lot of people are starting to take notice. He's had some great promotional work. He's had some great in-ring work in some of his matches. And he also had an excellent crowd reaction when it comes. Even though this guy is a heel, he's had a very positive reaction, which puts him really high on the list. He hasn't had a lot of wins, but honestly, that doesn't really matter. He has a really, really high score when it comes to not only promos, but also with the crowd. The crowd loves this guy. They love this guy even though he's a heel. Hence why he is at number 6. Hence why he actually scored 66 on this on my rankings list. And that's also why he is number 4. Now we are getting up there to the top 3 individuals for the month of April for the power rankings. So let's get on with number 3. Number 3 is Cesaro. Ever since this guy has made his red hot return on Raw, fans could not get enough of the Swiss Superman. I mean, seriously, he has a lot of names, from the King of Swing to the Swiss Superman. Fans can't get enough of him. They love this guy. He's been in some stellar matches. His promotional work has been nothing but cheered for. Everyone is looking forward to him actually winning the IC Championship. He is on fire. And I understand, I mean, it's kind of cool how he actually did have be at number 3, but I kind of expected it. When it comes to promotional work, this guy's getting nothing but praise. I'm just gonna be real here. When it comes to promotional work, he's not that bad. He actually is getting pretty good on the mic. And not to mention, when it comes to the crowd, they can't get enough of this guy. They really can't. And he's had some really great wins in the ring. I mean, and what can you say about Cesaro that hasn't already been said? So let's get started. Well, let's actually move on to number 2 on this list. We're getting up there to number 1, guys. Let's move on to number 2. Number 2 goes to a non-wrestler, even though he had pretty much one of the most spectacular spots in WrestleMania history, in my personal opinion. And you guys know who I'm talking about. I am talking about none other than Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon is number 2 on this list with 77 points. What can I say? When he showed up, the biggest pop came out of the mouths of everybody in the arena. Everyone loves them some Shane O'Mac. He had one of the most spectacular losses in WrestleMania history when he jumped off that cell. Even though the guy lost, he still has an overwhelming response, a positive response coming from the fans. And yes, people are saying that the Hell in a Cell match technically doesn't mean anything anymore because of the fact he's still running Raw anyway. In my opinion, I would not be surprised if Vince actually did that. I mean, shoot, he saw his son literally jump 20 feet off of a cell and nearly killing himself just to take over Raw. And seeing his grandsons running down the ramp, I'm kind of with that. I'm fine with that storyline, but I digress. The guy is on fire. He will always be on fire. I am not going to lie. Raw is actually worth watching now that he's taking over. And a lot of people are seeing the change. And a lot of people are seeing the future actually happening. So this guy is red hot. And it makes sense for him to be number 2. So it makes you wonder, who do you think number 1 is going to be? Oh, it's probably obvious to most of y'all. Let's move on to number 1. Alright guys, we have made it. We have arrived at number 1. The number 1 top dog of the WWE for the month of April goes to none other than the phenomenal AJ Styles with an overall 87 points. I am amazed. Seriously. I'm amazed that he would score this high, but his debut alone and moving on down the line, even before WrestleMania, even after WrestleMania, because this was actually scored from WrestleMania on down to all the Raws leading on up to Payback. This guy has been, and I hate to say it and sound redundant, he has been on fire. And he has been beloved by the fans. He still is. When his music hits, you know who it is. His promo work, of course, does need work. But regardless of that, guys, his in-ring abilities is what blew his score out of the water. Seriously. And seeing how well he has been performing in the ring against veterans, the feud alone with Chris Jericho helped him tremendously. The wins that he has had, especially that phenomenal win, no pun intended, that phenomenal win he had to being the number 1 contender for the title is a huge win for him. His promo work has definitely improved. I'm not going to say it's horrible, but it has improved. But the biggest number of all is definitely not only his crowd reaction, it's kind of dead even with him, but also the fact that this guy had some great matches. The matches is pretty much by far the main thing that set him up to getting this score. So I guess a lot of people probably expected AJ Styles to be somewhere on the top of the list. But honestly, y'all, the fact that he scored that high, I'm sorry, by far really does blow me out the water. But guys, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Who do you think should have been number 1? You may not agree with me, but I want to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Because guys, I'm honestly kind of interested in doing this for the month of May. But I mean, I actually did enjoy putting all this together. But the reason why I did it, of course, is because the WWE puts people on their list that are not even on the air. So it doesn't make any sense for them to actually be on the list and be scored high when they're not even there. For example, they had Roman Reigns on there. Roman Reigns was gone for a week or 2. Makes no sense to have him that high when he's not there. So all these people that is on this list, and for those that didn't score high enough, were actually on Raw. I'm doing strictly Raws, no SmackDowns. But like I said, I want to hear your thoughts on how you would rank these people. Leave a comment in the comment section below.